Jim, can I talk to you later?
Yes, Drill. So welcome everybody. It's Monday, August the 15th here in Hawaii. Might be Tuesday, August the 16th where you're sitting. And this is Jim flying solo today because Jory's feeling a little bit under the weather, so she's upstairs resting. She's okay, but she's just not really in good shape to be staring at a computer screen trying to push all these buttons and so forth. She just needs to rest. So I'll be your host today as we explore empathy, especially empathy in the face of hearing no, which is sometimes we call this class the scariest word in the English language. And so today we'll show you how it's not really scary at all. It's actually an invitation to connection. It's just not how we normally look at it. And for those of you who are here for the first time, I want to give you a special welcome. We've been doing this class online for about 2.5 years. Before that, we were doing it, doing a class similar to this for about 17 years since we got introduced to nonviolent communication. And I offer practice groups like this because I need them. I really need the chance to practice. And so I've always believed that we teach best what we most need to learn, and that nonviolent communication is something that is a never-ending process of integration. So if you're here for the first time, thanks for coming. And we really want to acknowledge that you have a lot of freedom here, freedom to participate in any way that works for you. So feel free to say yes or no to any of the options that we offer today. What I'll be offering will be 3 different ways of practicing nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication, of course, the process developed by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who died about 7 years ago or so. And Marshall developed nonviolent communication over about a 50-year career. And now we have certified trainers all over the world. There's about 700 people like me that are offering training in lots of different ways, both online and in live practice groups, workshops, and so forth. And pretty much we all practice these 3 modes that Marshall offered, which are self-connection, where we use nonviolent communication on the inside, just with ourselves. And then empathy, which we'll really focus on a lot today, where we're focusing our attention on listening to another person, and honesty, the speaking part of nonviolent communication. So we'll get a chance to practice all 3 of those today if you want to. So I'm going to do my best to fly solo here, and I may miss some things. So please forgive me for all the errors I'll make. I probably won't be able to track the chat as well as I usually do, but we'll get through it. We'll have some fun together. And we always start with a self-connection exercise. Self-connection exercise just means a chance to practice this self-empathy mode of nonviolent communication. So I'm just going to be using words to invite you to experience yourself, to experience certain aspects of your own direct experience. So I won't be trying to, guide you to do any visualization or anything like that. Just to notice what's actually happening in your world, because that's what NVC is really about, is getting present to what's going on in your life right here and right now. So the self-connection exercise has already started because you're looking at something. Just notice what you're looking at. Some of you might be looking at the computer screen. Some of you might be looking around other places. Just notice what you're looking at. Bring some attention to that. And then relax. Just kind of relax a little bit if you'd like, and let your eyes go wherever they want to go. So you can just kind of let your neck go and let your head follow your eyes. This is a support for our nervous system. This helps us to feel safer or to notice that we're not in a safe place. And if you're not in a safe place, then please take care of yourself and leave. Go somewhere else that is safe. So this is really honoring a deep part of our neurology, our nervous system, that's always trying to keep us safe. Safety is primary need for survival. And we human beings, most of us, not all of us, of course, most of us really rely on our eyes as our primary source of information about the world. This is a lot about learning to trust yourself. And if you like, if you feel comfortable doing it, you can close your eyes and change channels, so to speak. Notice that when you close your eyes, you become aware of different things than when your eyes were open. Now you're probably much more aware of sounds in your environment. You might even hear sounds of the rainforests, all the birds that are singing here in Maui. You may even be aware of your own heartbeat, the blood flowing through your ear canals. Sometimes people tell me they can hear that. I can't. And then shift your attention again, change channels again, and just notice your body. Specifically noticing sensations that are present in your body. You might be aware of specific sensations like a point of pain, some pressure, maybe some sense of warmth, especially on a hot day like today for many of us. Maybe there's a sense of coolness where you feel the air moving across your skin. If there's a breeze. Maybe you notice sensations in the core of your body, your belly, your heart, your throat, your forehead. Maybe not. Maybe you don't notice anything. That's something to notice as well, that you just don't notice anything. You may also be aware of emotions. Emotions like sensations come and go. Emotions like happy, sad, open, annoyed, impatient, frustrated. I think I have a list somewhere of about 250 different emotion words. You can always make up your own. There's no right list. It's really what helps you to name your own experience. And if you're like me and most of the people that I've ever talked to, you'll notice that these sensations and emotions come and go like a parade. They don't last for very long. They might come back. like a constant stream in my experience. What's it like for you? And then consider what's important to you right now. You chose to come to this call today for a reason. What's the reason? What's the why that motivated you to be here right now? And as you connect with why you're here, just enjoy the reason. Appreciate that you are motivated to be here in the service of what we call a need in nonviolent communication. And as you just appreciate this need that brought you here, call that savoring the need. And finally, for the exercise, consider what would make your life more wonderful for the next couple of hours. That's the whole point of nonviolent communication, trying to figure out what will make life more wonderful. We'll call that a request in NVC. So if you could ask for anything over the next couple of hours, what would you ask for? If your eyes have been closed, you can let them open now. And just repeat that looking around exercise again. Just look around, reorient yourself to the environment that you're in. See if there's anything that you need to adjust about it, including how you're sitting, or if you need to get some water, or yeah, I see somebody stretching. I love to see that. Just taking care of yourself. That's really the heart of NVC, is learning more and more how to take care of yourself. So in just a couple minutes, we're going to go to breakout rooms and do a check-in, but I see that Diana has her hand up. Let's check in with Diana first and see if there's something that she would like to say.
Sorry, I kind of forgot that I did that, but it was really early on in what you were, the process that you just went through. You mentioned safety, and I wasn't sure if you meant physical safety or emotional safety or both or something else.
Whatever it means to you. I was specifically talking about physical safety. That's our, but I don't think our brain knows the difference. Safety.
Good point.
Yeah. Yeah. So unless there's something else, let's go to small groups. We'll do this for about 10 minutes. I've got a question that you might enjoy exploring with one another in the small groups. The question, I'll put it into the chat as soon as I find it. So the idea of the check-in is it's a chance to practice the honesty and the empathy part of nonviolent communication. So again, the honesty is when you're actually opening your mouth and sharing what's going on for you. with somebody else. And empathy is when you're listening. So during the check-in today, you can just say what your name is, maybe where you're from if you want to say that, and then how you're feeling right now, whatever sensations or emotions that you notice and why you came today. And then tell a brief story about a moment of flow. What I mean by a moment of flow, it's a time when you felt open and at ease. Could be a brief moment of flow, like maybe you were you suddenly were in the flow while you were watching a movie, and you were just really enjoying the sense of flow while you're watching the movie, or maybe it was on a walk in nature, or maybe it was while you were doing some writing or some work. Any kind of a moment of flow. Flow just being a moment when you felt open and at ease. Just a brief story, maybe 1 minute about that. If you don't want to do that, that's also fine. So we'll do this, there'll be about 3 people per group, and there might be one group of 4. And that's the way it looks right now. Oh, no, actually there's 2 groups of 2. So during the small group, we'll have about 10 minutes. There'll be 1 minute at the end before we all come back here without doing anything. You don't need to push any buttons or do anything. Where you'll see something flash on your screen that the breakout room is ending, but you don't need to attend to that. You can just, it's just an alert that you just have 1 minute left. And so we'll see you all back here in about 10 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Not that you ever went anywhere, but it seemed like you were gone for a minute. So everybody's back now.
Can barely hear you, Jim.
That's funny. Okay, hang on a second. Let me check something.
Can't hear you, Jim.
Can you hear me now? How about now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I was trying to help Jerome with his sound, and I must have screwed up my own. Okay, good. I'm glad you're back. Good. I see a thumbs up from Pooja. So I got a few requests offline during the last week or two about sharing in the large group. So I want to pass along these requests. Oh, there's a gecko who's just climbed onto my desk to say hello. But anyway, the requests are, there's a desire for more voices to be heard, and for there to be more variety of voices. Now, I like welcoming all voices, but I especially love hearing people that haven't spoken before. So if I have a choice, and there's more than one person that has their their hand up, I'm going to probably choose the person that we usually don't hear from, so that just in case we run out of time. But also be mindful to make space for other people. You're making space for one another is a gift that you can give to each other to encourage more voices to be heard. Now, I know what it's like to be in a group, and in fact, every group that I've ever been in, some voices have more, some people have more willingness to speak than other people, and that's fine. But I really love to live in a world that opens it up for the possibility to hear all voices. So please check in with yourself and also empathize with everybody else in the room, and invite all voices to be heard. This is especially true if you are an American like me and you have skin color like me. We're really used to being the ones that get heard in a room. We've been being heard without anybody getting in our way for 500 years. And so I'm actually making this suggestion on behalf of all of us, to make room for voices that we usually don't get a chance to hear. I actually feel really touched and sad saying that, because I think the mourning in me is I wonder what I've missed. I wonder what I've missed when I'm the first one to speak. And then other people might decide that there's not enough time or enough space for other voices. So please join me in this little experiment for how can we make room for more voices to be heard. And if you happen to be somebody that is usually not the one to speak in a group like this, please try it. Please try it and see what it's like. Even if what you want to do is raise your hand right now and say, Jim, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That would be fine for me if you wanted to say that. Or Jim, I'm really grateful for what you say. All voices are welcome here, and all content. So I'd actually like to hear at least 2 or 3 people how you respond to what I've just said. So please raise your hand. If you don't know how to raise your hand, there's a little reaction button on the bottom of your screen. It looks like a smiley face with a plus sign. And if you click on that button, you can raise your hand. So someone willing to respond to my request. Yes, Moses, please go ahead.
I'll just say that it sounds great, picking on people that haven't spoken instead of taking people in order, I think is a good way to go. And having people that share consciously keep their sharing succinct will help, I think. And I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Moses. I appreciate the support and your honesty. Nikhilananda, and then Juan.
I wrote it in the chat. Mahalo.
Yeah, Nikhilananda writes, perhaps individuals speak once per class. Okay, you took your magic pill there, Nikhilananda. I'll miss your voice. If there's something really important for you to say later, I want to encourage you to say it anyway. Juan.
Yes, hi, Jim. I was very curious when you said you have some lesson want to announce in the public. After you speak it, I feel being very encouraged that everybody's voice is welcome and is accepted. I feel like usually I do not like to speak that much in the public that much, even though I have some thoughts in my mind. So I feel very encouraged. At the same time, I also feel like I can do some contribution to support Jim for his request. That's why I raise my hand and offer my voice, do my contribution.
Thank you. I really take it. I register it. I receive it. All 3 of you. It's just exactly what I was hoping for. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you, Jim.
And Sarah Joy is demonstrating another way you can have your voice heard, which is by using the little reaction buttons like hearts or thumbs up or laughing tears, shock, celebration, and so forth. Lots of emojis that you can also use. That's another way to be heard. And of course, there's also the chat. Okay, well, is there anything else that anybody would like to say before we move into the lesson for today? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I just wanted to, in honesty, in the small group, I mean, sometimes I feel I have a hard time hearing what people are saying anyways, but there was a foreign language barrier as well. And in the small groups, I don't think the captioning works. So I didn't feel in honesty, I didn't understand what the person was saying, and I just kept nodding and, so I just want to admit that. And it's hard to break in and say, I really didn't get what you said. And but I know it's a language thing. So anyways,
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. I want to just acknowledge you for saying your honesty and to say that when we don't understand what another person's saying, because for whatever reason, um, it's really common, I think, in my own experience as well, to just nod. And that could be coming out of my own discomfort, or could actually be coming from my own support. That it's not important for me to hear every single word that anybody says. In my experience, I forget almost everything that everybody says about 15 seconds later, but I get the energy, right? I really get the
Yeah.
energy.
It's
It's the
true.
energy that I want to catch. So thanks for bringing that up, Rob. Appreciate your voice. Okay. So we're in the middle of a series, but it doesn't matter because each class stands alone. And so I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to need to make it a little bit bigger. So first we're going to review, in case you weren't here, because we'll be using some words that that might be unfamiliar to you. And so just so you know what we're talking about, I'll make the screen a little bit bigger. I want to just say a sentence or two about each of the 3 skills that we've already covered in this series of classes. The first one in the center of the screen is this thing that we call the 0 step. This is not a term that Jory and I came up with. We actually learned it in the very first nonviolent communication practice group that we went to more than 20 years ago. It's not a term that Marshall Rosenberg ever used either. It's just some guy came to our practice group and he shared about this, what was important to him. And what the 0 step points to is 3 really key points about what we do before we practice nonviolent communication. First is where we place our attention. And what we're encouraging and working on in ourselves is to place our attention on the present moment. What's happening right here, right now, rather than to get stuck in a story about the past or anxiety about the future, just to stay really present. That'll be really, really important with today's topic, especially with empathy. Second element of the 0 step is intention. What intention do we have? In other words, why are we practicing nonviolent communication, or why are we doing anything that we're doing in our lives? This helps us get connected to needs and also to the purpose of nonviolent communication, which is to make life wonderful. Somebody asked at the beginning of the class, why am I writing my new book that this series is based on? It's to make life wonderful. I really want to contribute to making life wonderful. It's the purpose of nonviolent communication. What does making life wonderful mean? It means figuring out ways to meet more needs with less cost so that everybody has reliable access to having their needs met in an abundant way. That's my dream. So that's 2 parts of my 0 step: attention on the present, intention to make life wonderful. Then when I do that, something kind of magical in my experience happens. And that is that I open to outcome. I let go of my agenda. I let go of any demand energy. I let go of thinking that I know what the right thing to do is. I just become open to whatever happens next in this present moment. So that's what we're pointing to 0. It's our natural state. If you've ever been with a newborn baby demonstrates this better than any other human being that I've ever known. If you have a chance to hang out with babies are masters of the 0 step. They're constantly just present. They really want to connect, and they don't care what happens next within reason. They just want to be open to exploring and learning about the world and being with people. And if their needs are not met, they're really good about letting us know that their needs are not being met. And if their needs are met, likewise, they let us know that too. So that's the first skill that we worked on. The second skill answers the question, what happens if I'm not in zero? What do I do? Well, then we practice self-empathy. Self-empathy, again, is just practicing nonviolent communication with ourselves. Nobody else is required to practice NVC. And we'll get some direct practice with that in just a few minutes. The third skill that we practiced and we focused on last week is this idea of inviting. Inviting is a skill that we can develop before we have conversations that really matter to us. Inviting means, what can we do in order to increase the likelihood of having the kind of connection that we want? So when you're going to invite somebody to your party, you take certain steps to be warm, to be inviting, to let people know what's going to be happening, to maybe be coming with attitude of gratitude and so forth. So those are some of the things that we covered last week about how we can invite a conversation, also called a bid for connection. We're making a bid. Hey, how would you like, would it work for you to have a conversation right now about such and such a topic? So that's what we mean by inviting. And so I'm just going to stop there and see if I went too fast or if I confused anybody with anything that I said. So if you have a question, let me know. Yes, Faye, my intention at the end of each class is to share the slides. So you can relax. You don't need to focus too much on taking notes on stuff that's on the slides. I will invite you to do your own writing about certain things as we go. Anything else? Okay, then we go back and we'll talk about today's topic, which is empathy. So first, just take 1 minute and hang out with this word empathy. It's become quite a popular word. Even amongst politicians, business people, all kinds of different places. Everybody seems to be talking more about empathy, certainly way more than 20 years ago when we got involved with NVC. So I'm just going to be quiet for 1 minute while you think about what empathy means to you. If you want to write yourself a note about your own personal definition as of August the 15th or 16th, 2022, what empathy means to you, I'll be quiet for another 30 seconds or so you can connect to what it means to you and write it down. I love that some folks are putting their definitions in the chat. I appreciate that.
Okay, what time you were waking up?
Let me just pause for just a moment and see if there's anybody who wants to share anything about their definition of empathy here with the large group.
Jim, your volume's low again.
How about now? I didn't do anything, so it might be just on your end. How about now? Can you hear me?
I think
I
your
don't
volume.
want to speak again. Yeah, it's
Okay.
still low.
I see some thumbs up and some, so maybe try turning the microphone. I didn't do it, Nikki. No. I didn't change anything, but I will lean a little bit closer to my microphone and I will just check, make sure nothing got changed in my
Yeah, it
audio.
could be me, but my mic's on max.
Yeah. I'm showing, when I talk, I'm showing in the, that I'm in the green zone on my Zoom. So there's nothing else I can do. So we carry on. Anybody want to say anything about empathy before we keep going? Okay. So I lost my chat. There it is. Oh, I love this Servan that says gifting your absolute presence to the other person. That's a beautiful definition that I really appreciate. There is no right or wrong definition of empathy. And in nonviolent communication, we use the word in a very specific way. And this is a photo I took when on a trip to China. I have no idea where this was, but somehow I saw this piece of art on the wall and I said, that's empathy. That like somehow that is a visual representation of what the energy feels like in me. There's this beautiful, deep and reflective quality about empathy. So here's Marshall Rosenberg's definition. A respectful understanding of another person's experience. Marshall was a master of brevity, of using the least number of words in order to get across a concept. A respectful understanding of another person's experience. And for me, empathy begins, of course, with the 0 step. So it starts with, if I want to enter into an empathic connection with somebody, why? What need am I hoping to meet when I listen to somebody? It could be a variety of reasons. It could be because I want to support the other person. I want to contribute to resolving a conflict. It might be I want to learn something. Could be lots of different needs in play. Might even be I want to be safe. Empathy can really support safety. So in other words, what's my intention before I enter into this empathic connection? Do I want to connect in the service of compassionate giving and receiving? Do I have some other agenda? So it's important for me to get clear on why I'm listening. And then to consider, am I present? Only I can answer that question. Am I attuned to what's going on in this present moment? Or is my mind bicycling off into some future anxiety, some kind of catastrophizing? Or is it chewing about some old pain, some old hurt? And if I'm not clear on intention, or if I'm not present, I'm not going to be open to outcome. And so I need to just go back and do more self-empathy. That's all it means. If I'm not clear, if I'm not present, then it just means I need empathy myself. And I can start with self-empathy. If that doesn't support me in getting back to zero, then maybe I need to call a friend before I listen to somebody. So there's nothing wrong with not being in zero. It's just an alarm clock. It's an alarm clock that lets us know that we need empathy. And then we know we're in zero when we're open to outcome. So here's some other things to think about around empathy. Empathy is compassionately connecting to the humanness of another's experience. Now, the way that I connect to humanness is by paying attention to feelings and needs. All human beings have feelings and needs. It actually works for animals too. There's a human quality, what I call a human quality, to animals. I think it's actually natural that feelings and needs are a part of so many living beings' experience, and we can connect to that. We can wonder. There's a quality of wonder and curiosity that's part of compassionately connecting. When I'm in empathy, I don't have an agenda. I'm not trying to fix anybody. I'm not trying to cheer anybody up. I'm not trying to educate them. I'm not trying to calm them down. All those are agendas. If I notice I have an agenda, that's a clue that I'm not in zero and I need to give myself some empathy. So here is a critical piece of empathy. Empathy is silent presence with another person's, not the words we use. A quote from Marshall Rosenberg is, "Never think that what you say is empathy. The moment that we do that, we're off target. Empathy is about where we place our attention on the observations, feelings, needs, and requests of the other person. Doesn't require any words on our part to be in empathy. And empathy flows from a focus on the feelings of a need, the feelings and needs of another person." So summing it all up, Marshall style in just 3 words, the consciousness of empathy is space, presence, and focus. Space just means I'm open to outcome. I'm willing to just be with you while you explore your own experience. I'm present with you right now. My focus is on you. My focus is on your experience. I'm not caught up in my own agenda, I'm not trying to fix you. I'm just being present with you. So let me just pause there and see if there's any questions or comments from anybody.
Jim, there's Donna who has a hand up.
Thank you. Go ahead, Donna.
Well, okay, I just wanted to say, I think that you can be empathic, but have an agenda sometimes. I mean, like I was talking a friend out of suicide and I was trying, I felt extremely empathic and I think that came across, but I had an agenda. I didn't want her to kill herself. So that's just one example, I think, of that.
Thanks, Donna. Anybody else? Yeah, just to acknowledge that we're complicated beings, right? Even though my overall intention may be to be open to outcome and to not have an agenda, there might be a part of me that really wants to contribute to the well-being of the person that I'm listening to. I just want to keep that separate from empathy. I just want to keep that in a slightly different category. That's my agenda. It's okay to have an agenda. Often I'll move into to an empathic conversation with somebody. Like, I'm a professional mediator, so of course I want to support somebody in helping them to walk closer to a resolution of their conflict. I try to put that agenda on the shelf during the moments of empathy. So it's very natural that as we're listening to somebody, our own needs will come up, our own agendas will come up. And Jory and I once had the opportunity to be stuck in the car with Marshall on a trip from Albuquerque up to Las Vegas, New Mexico. So it was just the three of us in the car, and we had him all to ourselves, so we could kind of interview him. He didn't want to talk the whole time. It was an hour and a half ride, but he was willing to put up with us for about, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes. And we just talked to him about empathy. We asked him every question in the book that we could think of about empathy as we were trying to learn more about empathy from Marshall. And one of the things that I took away from that conversation was when we're listening to somebody, it's very natural for our own needs to arise. We're human beings. We're living, dynamic creatures. So if somebody tells us that they're going to harm themselves, or that they want to harm another person, or that they got harmed, or whatever the topic of the empathy is, I might have my own agenda come up in that moment. I want to notice that. I want to catch those feelings and needs. I feel scared. And I really want to protect this person. And then I want to see if I have the capacity to collect that need and temporarily put it on a shelf so that then I can go back to empathy. If I can't go back to empathy, then I want to be honest. You know what? We need to take a break. I need to call Carl, and I need to call my empathy buddy, and I need to get a little empathy. So let's take a 10-minute break, and then maybe we can resume, or maybe we resume tomorrow, or we find some way to work that out. So you don't ever think that you have to do empathy if your shelf gets too big. Marshall's nickname for that was empathy from hell. Nobody benefits from that. Juan.
Yes, Jean, I appreciate what you just said, because I feel I'm being emphasized, because I noticed that when I talking with my kids, I have a lot of agendas, have a expected outcome. Even though I empathize with them, but with that expected outcome, I can feel my anxiety, because I really wish they come out the same thing as I expected. So once I put down agenda, sometimes I do, I can feel myself is really calm, just inside calm, nothing related to them. It's just my inside being there, being present is totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really notice a difference. That's what I invite everybody to notice. There's nothing wrong with having an agenda. Just notice what the difference is. As you practice, you'll see that sometimes you have an agenda and you notice certain things about your body or about your relationship with the other person, and you notice that. Other times you might not have an agenda, and you'll notice that. And you'll just find out. The idea here for me with the 9 skills specifically is, what can I do that most supports connection, that most makes life wonderful? Where can I find my power and then share that power with the other person? And so much of our power, I think, is where Juan is pointing us to. It's where we're self-connected. So we notice we have an agenda. We might even be honest about it. That's a possibility, like Rob did earlier. That was really connecting for me when Rob shared his vulnerability like that. That was an act of compassion, so I really appreciated it. Aviva.
Hi, thank you. So I'm noticing I have a strong response to this teaching right now. and I've had it for other things, and that is like things are not separate. Things are not like pure, or I'm the great president 45 and everyone else is terrible, and things are much healthier when we integrate. And so I'm not buying this idea that empathy is pure and great and agenda has to be separate or you have to take a break. I think humans are more, it's like 1 minute I feel empathy, then 1 minute I felt a need, and then 1 minute my empathy was leading, and the next minute my need. I mean, like, I think that's just how it works. I don't think it's an all or nothing game, and I don't know. I'm not really sure where this teaching is coming from. It's a little bit confusing to me.
Yeah. Thanks, Aviva. I catch your need for clarity. And I'm actually in harmony with what you said, that we're constantly doing all 9 of these skills that we'll be covering over the next few weeks in more like a kaleidoscope than a set of steps. But in order to talk about them, I've discovered that it's useful just to separate them out so that we can examine each little piece of the human experience and see what we can learn about it, and see how we can then more fully integrate that experience with all the other parts of being human, which includes self-connection, gratitude, empathy, honesty, getting all caught up in our judgments. All that's part of being human. It's just, for me, it contributes to clarity in order to be able to talk about them as individual pieces. May not work for you, but that's what seems to work for me. How do you feel hearing that?
I feel like it's really setting people up for problematic self-judgment, to say that someone could say, oh, I'm being bad again. I had some kind of agenda, I'm good now. I'm good. I did my yoga. I'm good. Oh no, I'm bad. It's so either or. It so sets us up for people trying to decide if they're doing the right thing. And I'm trying to develop self-love, that whatever I'm doing is fine. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah. I catch your concern that we could take something like this beautiful thing like nonviolent communication and then turn it into an authoritarian system of right and wrong and good and bad. And that would be the opposite of my intention.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, what I would prefer, instead of kind of applying our old authoritarian model onto NVC, what I would prefer is if I notice that I'm not in empathy, just to notice it and accept myself. In fact, that's what we're going to work on in just a couple of minutes in the practice. We're going to work on how, no matter what happens in our empathic connection, we use that as an opportunity to love ourselves and to love the other person as best we can, without any have-tos. Rob?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of responding to that a little bit, but for me, it's been an opening of awareness. I remember being in couples with my ex-wife in couples session, and we went through the whole thing, and she said, I just want to be heard. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't fix anything. It was really hard to get. Empathy has value, and to slow down. So I think that's what it's about. I don't think we can hear you again, Jim.
Yeah, I was just pausing. I was just pausing. I was pausing to take it in, and just kind of register it that each of us are on a journey of our own, and we start right where we are with our experience of empathy, and then we'll grow. We'll grow as we integrate, and we'll keep learning, and it's never going to end. It's never going to end. And my ability to empathize, to be in empathy, is contextual. It depends on whether my needs have been met in a reliable way recently, whether I'm well fed, well rested, and so forth. All that matters. It matters about whether it's an environment that's conducive to empathy or not. It's really hard to empathize with somebody during the middle of a movie or, some other intense situation out in the world. So we do the best we can. Sarah Joy?
Thank you, Jim. I was just going to say, I appreciate all the comments people have just made, and I just want to reflect back to you that I feel like you're offering an opportunity for us to be human and not judge ourselves, and that I hear it's okay to be messy, which I feel like not a lot of, not every nonviolent communication teacher has taught me in the past. So I feel more comfortable in the situation that you're providing to be able to learn how to notice and to come back to zero step, or for me, it's balance or being centered. And I also notice that I have pretty big emotions or reactions sometimes because I value certain things, or I value people being treated with respect or whatever. And maybe that's not happening to me. And I also know that I don't want to then react in a way that's not respectful to the other person. And I might not in that moment be able to say the right things the way I'd like to, and to just have a moment to be able to take a break, even if it's just for a moment or two, to just be silent and not say what I might have intended to say. So I really like the clarity of having all these steps and being able to think about them all, and then kind of raise my awareness to be trying to notice some of them, to see if I can bring myself back to presence and really be in a way of communicating in the way I intend to be. So thank you for all of this.
You're welcome. And thank you.
All the discussion.
You're very welcome. And thank you for the summary of my point of view about NVC. It's really, especially this one thing that Sarah Joy just pointed out. And I think this also relates to what Aviva said. We human beings react, right? We will react. I've been practicing NVC and things like it, NVC for more than 20 years, things like NVC for 20 years before that. I still react just almost as much as I did 40 years ago. And the reason why I react, I have a nervous system. I have a nervous system that's been educated to live in a domination or authoritarian paradigm. And so I still think judgmentally. I was with a trainer, Marianne Gothlin, who's a Swedish trainer. She's been a trainer 10 years more than me. And I was so appreciative of what she told me at the end of an international intensive training in Japan once. We're all on the bus, leaving after 10 days together, and we're debriefing. We're talking about our experience at the IIT. And she says, my takeaway from this IIT is that I'm more judgmental now than I was 10 days ago. And it was just so liberating to me, because what that means is Marianne, how I interpreted it, is Marianne took a leap in self-awareness. That she began to notice levels of her programming, of her education, that she didn't notice 10 days ago. That's a huge leap for all of us. So never make yourself wrong for anything. Be gentle with yourself. Now let's practice. First, last week, if you were here, the homework was to write down a sentence that would invite a conversation that mattered to you. And so if you didn't do that, we'll just take a minute now. Just think of a situation in your life where you'd like to have a conversation with somebody. And what would you do to invite the conversation? What could you say? And by invite the conversation, I mean, imagine that the conversation, even though it matters, it can be about any topic. I would pick a topic that's on level 1, level 2, level 3. Not something that takes you to therapy with your therapist, but, like maybe we need to talk about, I don't know, something around the household chores, or future plans about restaurants, or what you want to do on your next day off, or some kind of problem that you have with co-parenting your kids, or pick something at a low level of intensity that involves another person that you want to connect with. And then write down how you might ask for the connection. So just to give you an example, let's say that I wanted to talk to a friend about a document that I was writing for a project that we were working on together. And so I write up the project, and then I call them up on the phone and I say, I've been working on that document that we've been working on together, and I think it's at a place where I could would really enjoy hearing your feedback. Would you be willing to take 10 minutes right now to talk about it? Okay, anybody need more time? Need to stop screen sharing so I can see all of your hands. If you don't have something in mind, that's okay. You can just pretend like you've got something in mind. It'll still work for the practice, because you've done this 100 times in your life, 1,000. You've invited conversations. So don't worry about it if you didn't come up with something too easily. So now imagine that the person says no. You've done all your inner work. You did your 0 step. You did your self-empathy. You noticed you were scared about opening up this conversation, went back to self-empathy. You finally found the courage to ask for the conversation, and then you heard no. So that's observing. That's the skill of observing. So you just notice that happened. I just made a bid for connection and heard the other person say no. And then use the skill of feelings awareness. Check in with yourself. How are you reacting? What do you notice in your body? And slowing things down. We have the luxury that we don't have in real life when we practice. We get to really slow things down and pay attention to what's going on with these reactions. We're actually welcoming this reaction. We're welcoming our awareness of the reaction. Write down, first notice it, and then name it. Write it down. Describe the sensations and emotions that you feel. So in my case, I asked this person for feedback about my document. They say, no, it really doesn't work for me right now. And I notice I feel disappointment. I feel sad. I kind of have a droopy feeling right below my eyes, not quite at the level of tears, but I feel sad. I was looking forward to this. I was really hoping it would work. This is what I'm telling myself. So I'm noticing not only what's going on in my body, but I'm also noticing what's going on in my head. So what's going on for you when you hear no? And be present. This is your chance to just be present with these feelings. This is life talking to you. This is your body communicating with you. This is like the signals on the dashboard of your experience that are lighting up, letting you know that something's important to you. We experience it as pain in the body. And our habit is to try to push the pain away. We don't like pain for good reason. But in this case, we're in a safe place to explore pain, to see if there's something we can learn from this signal. Nobody likes it when the alarm clock goes off, but yet we appreciate the alarm clock. So this is the alarm clock. This is your body's alarm clock. This is your heart talking to you. What's it saying? So it's telling you that something's important to you. This is what we call needs consciousness. What's important to you? Why do you feel the way that you feel? In my case, it's like my need is for feedback and connection and fun. I feel disappointed because I have needs for fun, connection, and feedback. What's it about for you? So these are the steps that we just went through. So you can just kind of review what you did. We started with the observation. Somebody said no. We checked our body for our own reaction. That's what bodies do. They're designed to react. That's why you come from a long line of survivors. 1,000,000 years prepared you for hearing that no. 1,000,000 years of your ancestors reacting to what they perceived as a threat. We interpret often, not always, sometimes we interpret a no as a threat. And we react. That's just human. Then you named your experience. Checking the body, noticing it, naming it, and then connecting those feelings to your needs. This explains why we feel the way we feel, why this reaction is happening. It's not the other person's fault. It's that we have a need. Let me pause here and see if there's any questions about this. Jeanette.
I love the example. I'm the person that people sometimes come to expecting something from me. And my need is for consideration of my time and resources and energy. And I feel bad saying no. But when you say, well, we have needs, but when it's placed on someone doing something for us, it's an expectation and sometimes even a demand, and it makes another person feel obligated.
Yeah.
And this is where I have problems with NVC, that, okay, we all have needs, but if we're always depending on other people to meet our needs, that's a setup for a lot of problems. Some people can, but eventually everybody will disappoint. And that we need another source of meeting our needs other than always other people. And
Yeah.
I call that a spiritual thing, but
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of that.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm so glad you are. So maybe you're willing to just stick with me. And let's just imagine that I asked you for feedback and you had the willingness to say no to me. So I say, hey, Jeanette, would you look at this document? And then you say, no.
I can't.
Yeah, great. So now I shift from self-empathy to empathy. Now all my focus is on Jeanette. So the first thing that I do is I go back again to observing. And I'm utilizing the resources that I built in my self-empathy. Now I've created space, presence, and focus. I'm actually able to register Jeanette's words. I can't. So I just take it in. So now imagine that you all have just taken in this no. Now Jeanette's already given me a head start. She's actually helping me so much. She's doing all the work for me. In your case, you're going to have to do some of this work in your imagination. But I think I catch what Jeanette is feeling. I imagine, and I'm going to check it out in just a minute, Jeanette. I imagine you're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you're telling yourself you have a sense of duty or obligation when you hear a request like this.
Correct. I'm feeling several people put things on me, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. It doesn't feel good to you. You notice a constriction in your body. It's uncomfortable for you.
Correct.
Yeah. And so now I make a guess about what might be going on at the level of Jeanette's needs. And I'm curious, Jeanette, are you just needing some choice? You want to have some choice about how you utilize
consideration of how people ask me for what they want from me.
Yeah.
And not expect or assume that I can do whatever.
Yeah. You want consideration. You want, you love it when there's a sense of openness to what you need.
I would gladly do it if it's a mutually collaborative experience, but sometimes it's very one-sided, and I can pick up that. My antennas just really go on alert, and then I have a wall because I don't feel this is coming from a pure motive. It's coming from, hey, I need something. And if I don't give in to that, it doesn't feel comfortable. And I really hate saying no, but if I don't,
everybody's going to pay.
Well, if I say no, it doesn't go well either. So
Right.
I'm kind of stuck lately.
Yeah.
I don't want to take you off your course, Jim. I just appreciate this topic because I'm on the other side at times.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
I
You're right.
feel
You're right where
better
I
by
want.
myself and avoiding people.
Yeah.
That's terrible to say. I feel better avoiding lots of situations because I feel better alone.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're willing, stick with me and let's see where we go.
Okay.
So I really catch your need for the two needs that I catch, to just try to encapsulate it into a couple words. One, you're needing consideration, and the second thing,
Correct.
you're needing mutuality. You want to make sure
Yes.
that this is both a giving and a receiving.
Collaboration. Yes.
Collaboration. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. So now I'm at a choice point. I didn't have to say any of that out loud. In this case, I had the luxury of having Jeanette to role play it with me. So I made a needs guess, or I can make a proposal. So I've already done my needs guess, and now I'm going to go on to the next part, which is to make a proposal. And now I'm actually going to try to live what Jeanette's dream is, which is consideration and mutuality. I'm going to do the best I can to hear her needs as a gift to me. In the world that I want to live in, and that I want all of us to live in, I want everyone's autonomy to say no, to be honored, not only honored, but that the person has the dignity to be able to say no, and that I receive their no as a gift. So this is going to require me to do more inner work. So first, I got to just check, am I in 0? I am. I'm really open. I have a big grin on my face because I really trust Jeanette. I've gotten to know her over the last couple of years. I'm so glad that she spoke up, and that actually it meets my need for trust that she spoke up. And so, Jeanette, I want to just tell you my honesty. That first I'm just gonna demonstrate the empathy. We did it again, but just for clarity. So I want to make sure that I got you, Jeanette. Your needs are really around consideration and mutuality. Is that right?
And also trust that it's coming from a place of something sincere. And I'm not talking to people that are in NVC land. Not everybody wants this mindset. And when they hear no, there's a lot of disappointment and whatever. People, we all do that. I used to do that with my daughter. You're saying, yes, I understand, but just go back a little bit. Right before, when you were saying you were disappointed, you thought you'd have some fun with this person and you wanted feedback. If you didn't have NVC awareness, not everybody gets to that place. So when there's a no, it crashes the whole thing. And that's what I'm so sensitive to.
Of course you are. Of course you are. Because you've lived in a world where you've lived with the expectations of others and maybe gotten feedback. Maybe even some names were called of you that were not fun to hear. And now there's this other thing that might be happening that's different, and your needs are for consideration, mutuality, and sincerity. You actually need some trust, maybe, that when I say
Correct.
that I enjoy hearing your no, you really want to be able to trust that I'm telling you the truth. Did I get it?
Yes, I think trust needs are coming from a place that are really needed, and I'm not the source of it.
Right.
It's something they can't do somewhere else, and I'm like, I can't be the only source of it.
Right.
Whatever. Anyway, I don't want to get off your topic.
You're right. You're right where I want you to be. You're doing perfectly. Even if we had rehearsed this, it couldn't have gone any better than it's going. So now I get to make my proposal. So Jeanette, I really catch that it really doesn't work for you to do this right now. And so what I would like the proposal that I'd like to make is I'd just like like to find out, how would you feel about me asking somebody else for feedback about this document before I then come back to you about it?
I'd love it.
Yeah. Okay, so in this case, I made the first proposal, I heard a no. I navigated that no, got connected to her needs and my needs. I still need feedback, but I have divorced Jeanette from being the only strategy to meet my needs. I have given her the freedom that she already has to say no. And I celebrate that with you. And then I say, okay, so would this work for you? Would this meet your needs if I ask somebody else? And she says yes. And I said, and I ended with a clear and present request, a feedback request. Would that work for you? And she said yes. Now I would go back to 0. And if Jeanette's practicing too, I don't have any expectation that Jeanette does that, but she has the opportunity to do that. And then we find out if there's anything else that might need to happen. So is there anything else left for you, Jeanette, about this conversation? Or does this feel complete?
When I resist a little bit, there's a big crash and I don't hear anything after that. And then I feel bad that I have let somebody down and I don't know how to do it any other way because it happens lately a few times over and over.
Sure.
And I don't really know quite what to do with that yet.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
different when you're doing it because you're in this world that I want to live in. But if people are not wanting to live in that world, then I'm the source of someone's pain, maybe, because I've resisted their attempt to get something from me or whatever this is. I don't even know what to do with it yet.
I get that you're living in a pattern. You notice that this has happened many, many times, and you'd like some,
lately it's new.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd like to have some freedom from this pattern, and maybe
Yes, and also you asked me, well, could I do something, okay, would this meet your need to go somewhere else? And again, I don't want to take you off. I'm taking way too much time here. They would never come back and say something else to people just lately. It just crashes the whole thing. And then there's this dead absolute like shutdown. So I know, okay, something just broke. And that's why I'm a little scared to say, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Because every time I do, there's this crash. But anyway, I don't want to take you off this. I've talked way.
Well, actually,
anyway, thank you so much, Jim. I don't want to.
Welcome. I'm so grateful for what you offered us today. It was a gift to everybody. And I see Zohar, you have a hand up. I wonder, Zohar, if you can hold your question until after a 10-minute breakout room. Would that work for you? I guess so. She put her hand down. Great. I'll take that as a joyful no. And so the idea now, I'm going to open up the groups and you guys get to talk for just about 10 minutes because so that you can share a little bit about your own direct experience of the role play or your own imaginative experience of what went on for you. And we'll come back here in 11 minutes and then we'll move into the checkout. So I think I've got all rooms kind of built. Most of the rooms are threes. There's a couple of twos. And we'll see you back here in 11 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. I didn't quite finish my homework. Here we go. To be ready for the end of the call here. So I'd love to get some feedback. If you haven't had your voice heard today or ever on this call, and you'd be willing to share what your experience was like today, that would be so delicious for me. And of course, your no is a gift. So you don't even have to say no, you just don't have to unmute yourself. But if there's anything, if you haven't spoken yet today and you'd like to, I'd love to hear your voice. And anything you'd like to say in terms of feedback is welcome, whether you something that you appreciated, some coaching you want to give me, some kind of evaluation, even your moral judgment. All that would be a delicious treat for me. Especially about this idea of no being a gift. Anybody have anything you'd like to say about that? Yeah, Patricia.
Hi, Jim. I did write in the chat that I had some feedback that I wanted to give if you were interested. And most particularly about how you open the class, about asking people not to speak up, those who speak too much. But I don't feel that I have enough time. So if you're interested in my feedback, I will be glad to stay for the after party.
Okay, great. Thanks, Patricia. Jean-Marie?
To appreciate, Jim, this role modeling that you did earlier on with Jeanette. I learned quite a good bit, just the conversation that went back and forth in this whole thing about no. And in my small group, I didn't have a chance to continue sharing on that no. I was thinking to myself that in my life, no is just like a particular situation or a circumstance that someone is asking me. The no is just for that moment or for that particular time. There is yes to other things in one's life. And I can find other ways to say yes in other areas of my life in relating with this one person. So no is not my whole life. So that's all I wanted to say. There's options in life.
That sounds like a 0-step no to me. I really love hearing that. That no is just for right now. Yeah, I get that very much. Sometimes when Jory and I get in a little tangle or whatever, and I love it when one of us says no, but then we don't take it as a permanent situation. We come back and check in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the next day, over and over and over again until we find out. I'm willing to hear no as many times as somebody is willing to say it, because exactly for the reason you said, Jean-Marie, that you're always saying yes to something. That's why it's easier and easier for me to hear a no, because I really enjoy that people are getting their needs met. Tanya.
I'm with Jean-Marie. I love what she had to say. And I try to remind myself that no decision is ever final. Am I going to have to go for the rest of my life without Jim reviewing my paper? But if it's just for now, because Jim's got other things to do, it's okay. And the other one is, I much prefer a direct no than a sneaky, underhanded getting even for submission vortex.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yes. There's this new feature on the CNVC, the Center for Nonviolent Communication website, which is kind of like our own version of Facebook without any of the toxicities, just a place for trainers to connect. And I wanted to have a special place on the global home for a particular group. And so I started asking for it. I really thought it would meet needs for this group to have our own special place. And I asked and I didn't hear back. And so I asked again and I didn't hear back. And so I was taking this as no, not now. I'm saying yes to other things. I'm really busy with the other tasks that I have. So then I asked again, and I believe I didn't really keep score, but I'll bet I asked 10 times. And finally I got a yes. So yeah, keep asking. You might just get a yes. And then if I never got the yes on that particular platform, I could create the internet's a big place. There's lots of different ways to get our needs met. I never want somebody to be in the position that Jeanette shared about. And we all find ourselves in that position where we think we're the only strategy for somebody to get their needs met. And that's tyranny. It's authoritarianism. And I really want us to move beyond that, to acknowledge everyone's freedom to say yes or no. So time for one more sharing, and then I'll do the end of the class announcements. Anybody else have anything? If you haven't spoken yet today and you'd like to be heard? Then let's just take 30 seconds and maybe just connect with what you're taking away from today. And as you connect with what you're taking away from today, imagine how you can use it from now on. I'll bet this week you're going to have a chance to make requests. And I'll bet sometimes people will say no. Or not say no, but you just don't hear. That's another form of no, a nonverbal no. And then just imagine how you can give yourself empathy for that. Notice your reaction, name it, allow it, and get curious. What's the need in the other person? What's the need behind their no? That's the question I love to ask myself. It's a question that comes very easy from zero. What's the need behind their no? Then I can either choose to make the guess out loud or not. And then I can choose to make another proposal, either out loud or not. The proposal may or may not even include the other person. Because this last time I checked, there were 7.6 billion people on the planet. And so there's lots of different human beings that can help me get my needs met. So thanks for being with us today. We do record the calls, as you've noticed, and usually they show up in a timely way at that website that I just put into the chat. And I'm a little bit slow on last week's call. It's been processed. I just haven't finished getting it up yet. So maybe tomorrow. Just been really, really busy. I wrote a book. My first book came out almost exactly a year ago. And thanks to you, we've sold thousands of copies. I want to sell thousands of more. And so please buy a copy from your local bookseller. The book is called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. And I will put a link. I think this goes to like Google or Bing or something like that, but it shows that there's about 1,300 different places you can buy my book. You can buy it at your local mom and pop bookstore. That's my preference, that you find the local bookseller and order it from them, support small businesses in thriving. And also use your library. If there's a library system where you live, invite your library to buy some copies of the book to make available to other citizens in your area. Jory and I do all of our NVC work in the spirit of compassionate giving and receiving, or a gift economy. And we're collecting money on behalf of the Center for Nonviolent Communication. So the easiest way to contribute to us is to click on that link and donate some money to CNVC. And if you do that, whether it's $15 or $1,500 or $15,000, whatever the gift is that you like to give, let us know what you gave. And that gives us a chance to savor it. If for some reason you'd prefer to give us money, then we'll pay it forward to an NVC project that we care about. I'm supporting lots of candidates around the world in taking advanced NVC training and preparing them to become certified trainers. And so if you want to give to me, I'll make sure it goes to a place that really matters to us. Most of the people that I support are in the global south, which just means people that have, because of the way things have worked out on our planet so far, they just have less access to resources that we take for granted here in the global north. I want to make sure that that we can create some equivalence, make sure that everybody understands that everybody's needs have an equal value. And I think that's all. Next week, we will experience how gratitude can help us get back to zero. So sometimes we need a little bit of a gentle support to even find the energy to go back to self-empathy. That was just one more no than I could really handle. I don't really want to empathize with myself or with anybody else. I need some resources. So we'll work with gratitude and other life-affirming emotions as resource states to help us to get back to zero. And if you have any feedback, please, you can write to me. I'll put our email address into the chat. I read every email. I may not respond to every email, but I respond with empathy. I may not have the time to say all the words I'd like to say, but please write and I'll take it in. I'll let it register. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. I will stick around for a few minutes and create some little after party groups if anybody wants to stick around and talk some more about our class today or get some empathy or set up another opportunity to connect, then please stick around and I'll find a group for you. And with that, you can unmute yourselves and say farewell, aloha.
You put in the slides?
Oh, shoot. You know what? I was so busy. I didn't do that yet. So let me do that right now.
Everyone. Have a great day.
Make a quick slideshow for you. Give me a second here. Thanks for the reminder. See, ask, ask, ask. And put it in my, let's see, yes. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Okay, 1 more second while I now go find the file I just made. I do miss Jory. I hope you miss her as much as I did. When she's here, I have more ease with doing all these other things. Okay, so I'm going to put the slideshow into the chat now. If you have a computer, it'll be easy for you to download it. And there you go. All right. Aloha, everybody.
Wait. Could I ask a question?
Yes, I'm not leaving. I'm just going to turn the recording off.
Okay.